Hari Janabalabha Girivaradari Yasharanandana Brajajanaranjana Anandana Brajajanaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Tiravanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai Shri Caitanya-caritāmṛta Ki Jai 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 Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So wir werden Englisch machen. English, everybody speaks English. Okay. So we're reading from the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Madhya-līlā, chapter 20 and text 62. Etam kahi kahe Prabhu Sunam Sanatanam Krishnam Badam Dayamayam Patita Pavanam Ittakahi kahi Prabhu Shuna Sanatanam Krishna Bharadayamaya Patita Pavanam Etakahi kahe Prabhu Shuna Sanatanam Krishna Bharadayamaya Patita Pavanam Etakahi kahe Prabhu Shuna Sanatanam Krishna Bharadayamaya Patita Pavanam Etakahi kahe Prabhu Shuna Sanatanam Krishna Bharadayamaya Patita Pavanam Matajis, ladies. Etakahi kahe Prabhu Shuna Sanatana Krishna Bharadayamaya Patita Pavana Etakahi kahe Prabhu Shuna Sanatana Krishna Bharadayamaya Patita Pavana. Okay, vielen Dank. Word by word translation. Etam, the eta kahi, saying this. Kahe, continue to speak. Prabhu, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shuna, please hear. Sanatana, my dear Sanatana. Krishna, Lord Krishna. Bada, very much. Dayamaya, merciful. Patita Pavana, deliverer of the fallen souls. Translation, and then after one more verse, purport of Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, my dear Sanatana, please hear from me, Krishna is very merciful and he is the deliverer of all fallen souls. One more time. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, my dear Sanatana, please hear from me, Krishna is very merciful and he is the deliverer of all fallen souls. Text 63. Maharaurava haite toma karila udhara kripara samudra Krishna gambira apara. My dear Sanatana, Krishna has saved you from Maharaurava, life's deepest hell. He is an ocean of mercy and his activities are very grave. Purport. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hridesha arjuna tishtati. Staying within everyone's heart, Lord Krishna works very gravely. No one can understand how he is working, but as soon as the Lord understands the sincere activity of a person in devotional service, he helps him in such a way that the devotee cannot understand how things are happening. If the devotee is determined to serve the Lord is always prepared to help him. Dadhami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upadyantite. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling Sanatana Goswami how merciful the Lord is. Sanatana Goswami was a minister in the service of the Nawab Hussain Shah. He was always mixing with people materially inclined, particularly with Mohammedans, meat-eaters. Although he was in an intimate touch with them, by Krishna's mercy he came to find such association distasteful. Therefore he left them, and as stated by Srinivasacharya, Tyaktva turna ashesha mandala priti shireni sadhatu chavat. Krishna enlightened Sanatana Goswami in such a way that he was able to give up his exalted post as minister. Thinking his material position insignificant, Sanatana was prepared to become a mendicant. Appreciating the activities of Sanatana Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu praised his action and thanked Krishna for his mercy upon him. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyanangjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Hlitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Sriyuta Parakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitamtam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscham Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Shri Varshavana Videvi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayine Prabhave Namaha Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam Sankarshana Karanato Yashai Garbo Dashai Cha Payobdishai Sheshascha Kala Sanityananda Rama Sharanam Mamastu Namo Mahabaranjaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gauratvise Namaha Namaste Halagraha Namaste Mushalayuda Namaste Rivatikanta Namaste Bhaktavatsala Namaste Dharandidhara Namaste Balalam Sheshta Pralambare Namaste Stui Himam Krishna Purvaja Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopipakanta Radhakanta Namostute Jayatam Surato Pangor Mamamanda Matergati Matsarvasva Padambojo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumada Srimad Dangara Simhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Deva Upreshtalivi Samimana Smarami Srimandra Sarasaramvi Vamsivata Ratasitaha Karsham Veno Svanar Gopir Gopinata Shri Estunaha Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhano Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Om Swastiastu Vishwasya Kala Prasidatam Jayantu Bhutani Shivam Mitodiya Manascha Badram Bhajatada Dokshayi Avishyatam Namati Rahaituki Tvayi Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Once again the two verses. Eta kahi prabhu shuna sanatana Krishna Bharadaya Maya Patita Pavana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, my dear Sanatana, please hear from me. Krishna is very merciful and he is the deliverer of all fallen souls. Maharaura Vahaite Tomara Karaila Udhara Kripara Samudra Krishna Gambira Aparam. My dear Sanatana, Krishna has saved you from Maharaurava, life's deepest hell. He is an ocean of mercy and his activities are very grave. Hare Krishna. So, the point that Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing here in the purport is sincerity. It depends on one's sincerity how we can expect Krishna to manifest himself in our lives. How is this sincerity noticed? Or you could also ask, I might be very sincere, but nobody notices. Somebody is very sincere, very honest, very upright, very following all the principles very strictly, chanting very attentively, But externally, it might not be noticeable. Externally, we might think somebody is very advanced, who's actually not very advanced, and somebody is not very advanced, who actually is very advanced. Externally, we can easily make a show. If you know how to put your tilak nice and straight, your dhoti nicely, you're always nice and shaved. People might think, oh, he's a pure devotee. He's very paka, he's very nice. But actually, of course, spiritual life the main aspects are not external in spiritual life. The main aspects are actually internal. Our true emotions, thoughts, and feelings towards other devotees, towards Krishna. This is what actually really, really counts. How is your consciousness? So we are trying to establish in our hearts Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada named his entire institution based on this principle, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Sridhar Maharaj, the godbrother of Srila Prabhupada, he was very impressed with this term that Prabhupada developed. This is Prabhupada's, you could say, coinage. Prabhupada developed this term, Krishna Consciousness. In Sanskrit, it's called Krishna Bhavanamrita. Krishna Bhavanamrita, or that the bhava, our thought, emotion, sensation is directed towards Krishna. Krishna Bhavanamrita. And Bhavanamrita, Krishna Bhavanamrita Sangha, is kind of like International Society for Krishna Consciousness, or Antarashtra Krishna Bhavanamrita Sangha. Sridhar Swami thought this was very genius, in English language, to put it in this, in these two words, Krishna consciousness. It encapsulates everything we want to achieve. It encapsulates everything that we are doing. It encapsulates what the path is, and it also encapsulates the ultimate goal of consciousness. Sometimes it's emphasized that first we should be conscious, then we can become Krishna conscious. Just emphasizing that being Krishna conscious is not something cheap. Sometimes we might think, I'm Krishna conscious because I am, I am a devotee. I'm a devotee. I'm initiated. I'm Krishna conscious. But actually, Krishna consciousness is something amazing. If we are really Krishna conscious, that means we don't forget Him. And we're always remembering Him. So this term, Krishna consciousness, is also, of course, you could say, in two words, fulfilling this ideal. Is this from Rupa Goswami or Sanatana Goswami? It's Rupa Goswami, no? Always think of Krishna and never forget him. Where does it come from? Some Purana, no? Okay. So, yeah, this is a sentence that we hear very often. The Goswamis mention it, Srila Prabhupada mentions it. To always think of Krishna and never forget him. And in 2 words, be Krishna conscious. So Krishna consciousness is what we want to attain. So Srila Prabhupada is saying that the Lord understands one's sincerity. So how Krishna conscious we are, Krishna knows the best. And that's a principle that is very, very powerful and can give you also a lot of internal solace, or you could say internal peace, and happiness, if you know Krishna knows. Krishna knows. Krishna knows exactly who you are. Maybe the people don't know who you are. Maybe you feel misunderstood or not appreciated enough, but Krishna knows. Be sure, He really knows. So of course He also knows all our mistakes, all our weaknesses, all our bad thoughts and deeds. But still, He knows our sincerity. He really knows our sincerity, and this is what ultimately really counts. And sometimes there are some, very astonishing stories how sometimes the Lord is mainly concerned about the devotee's sincerity and not so much his external ability to actually follow rules, regulations, principles, standards, etc. So in a society, of course, we are always to some extent primarily concerned that the standards should be kept up. There is a standard, there is you could say, certain ethical rules and regulations, and those should be upheld. Otherwise, everything will decay, and there's no, guideline. But there is a few stories that point towards, that actually it's more important what you really are feeling in your heart, because external weaknesses always will be there. And Mangal Ananda, or Mangal Maya Prabhu, as he used to be called before, he always used to tell this story, which is a little bit controversial maybe, but still it was, he always used to tell it to make the point that Krishna, loves his devotees, and he's only counting on his sincerity of his devotees. Shri Phalalakshmi Singari Bhagwan Ki Jai. So this story is that about a Pujari in Jagannath Puri, and he was a very expert Pujari, very expert, could dress the Lord very nicely, and he was always making such a nice, with so much dedication and love, and with his full heart he was always worshipping Lord Jagannath, but at the same time he was also distracted, So it appeared that he was visiting some places maybe a Pujari should not visit, So the suspicion was there, that this Pujari, in the night he was going to some places maybe, a Brahmana Pujari should not go, So his friends or other Pujaris, they were always a little bit suspicious about him. And then one morning, it was very obvious, he came to do his puja in the morning, and he didn't look like he had taken a proper shower, He was, a little bit disheveled, and he had kumkum from the breast of a prostitute, on him. So it was so the pujaris, they kicked him out. It's like, go away, you could not do any puja anymore. So they kicked him away. And then, astonishingly, Lord Jagannath complained, where's my Pujari? He came in a dream of the Pujaris and the king, and he wanted to have his Pujari back. So, I forgot how the ending of the story was. I think he rectified his ways, but the point was still that Lord Jagannath, apparently in this story, tolerated, these missteps of his devotee, but appreciated his sincerity. And especially in Kali Yuga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is said to have this very same attitude, and especially among Chaitanya, Nityananda even more. They have this very strong attitude that, everyone is a devotee. Everyone is a devotee. Or like in this verse, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, Krishna is very merciful and he is the deliverer of all fallen souls. So Krishna is not the deliverer of the liberated souls. Krishna is not, he probably is also, but he's especially glorified as being Patita Pavan. Patita Pavan means fallen. That means we are in need of some help. So what I understand from this different points is that what we should focus on especially is our sincerity and our attachment to Krishna. We should really try to develop an attachment for Krishna. Because this attachment for Krishna in time will completely replace any material attachments we might have. If we only focus on the rules and regulations, without really understanding the purpose, that's also what's described in the Nectar of Instruction. Niyamagraha. So Niyamagraha can mean to follow the rules and regulations without understanding their purpose. You are attached to follow the rules and regulations. You just follow them for the sake of following them, or you don't follow them. So of course we should follow the rules. We're not advocating to not follow the rules and just try to love Krishna. So we should follow the rules, but it's the purpose is not to follow the rules. The purpose is to develop an attachment for Krishna. And the idea of following all these rules is to bring us to a position of cleanliness, mental purity, concentration, so that we can, serve Krishna, perceive Krishna, be established in Sattva Guna, so that we can, enter into the spiritual plane. So it's very, 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 very important that we don't follow the rules just for the sake of following them. And we should be very careful also to not put the rules on such a high pedestal that we end up committing offenses against other devotees. Very important. Generally the principle, and this is also very, very important that we understand, is that you should apply the rules for yourself as strictly as possible, and on others as liberal as possible. Very important. Unless you are maybe, a guru, or you are in a position of authority, you might have to, correct other people. If you're not in a position of authority, it's not your duty to correct others. And you will only commit mistakes. You will only make offenses and cripple your spiritual advancement. You will, especially commit offenses. And then you don't get the mercy of devotees. Then what is the use? What is the use of all these rules? The use of all these rules is that we become soft-hearted, actually. Was it mentioned somewhere here? Anyway, the main point, something was mentioned in the purport, but I don't find it now. But the main point is already there in the first verse, Daya Maya. Daya Maya means to be, you have a consciousness of mercy. Merciful, to be merciful. So what does it mean to be merciful? Merciful means you're not a judge, you're not taking accounts, you're not counting every P, Merciful means you are ready to extend yourself towards the other person without expecting the person to live up to the highest standards. Krishna could say, you all wretched souls, you are in Maya, rot and suffer. But that's not the mood of Krishna. Krishna is merciful. So merciful means that you give up that you are not really. Actually, merciful also is described as you could say lack of envy. You know, technically, actually, if you're not merciful or you don't have the ability to be merciful, it's because you're envious. You know? If we have envy in our hearts, you are in the exactly opposite position in your consciousness. You know, you think something somebody else has or doing is something you might want to have yourself. You know, or somebody might be doing something that your sinful mind would like to do. You know, but you're not allowed to do it. You know, but he's allowed to do it. You know, why is he doing it? It's disturbing me. You know, so you might become very angry at this person and try to expose this person or something like that. If you're pure, if there's no envy, then you can be merciful. You know, so it is difficult. It's not so easy to be merciful if we still have envy. You know, envy, of course, is the root cause of our material existence. You know, it's the most toxic emotion that we still carry within. If when we give up this toxicity, then we're able to act mercifully, mercifully inspire others. As long as we have still envy, it's very difficult. So, Srila Prabhupada says that no one can understand how the Lord is working. But as soon as the Lord understands the sincere activity of a person in devotional service, He helps them in such a way that a devotee cannot understand how things are happening. So it's all by the mercy of the Lord, and the Lord is within our hearts. He is within our hearts. He is the Chaitya Guru, Upadrashta Numanta. He is giving permission. He is the witness of every action. He is the witness of all our thoughts and emotions. He knows. He is Kshetragya, Sarva Kshetragya. He's conscious about everyone's field of activity. And Srila Prabhupada says here, as soon as he understands that there's some sincere action of a person, any sincere activity we can do, the Lord rewards. So therefore it's very important. It is the key in what attitude you're performing your duties. It's again the same point. You can perform your duties externally very, very well. Everything is clean, everything is orderly, but maybe you're just frustrated, because you're the only one who is orderly and everybody else is messy. But if you are doing the same activity and thinking, wow, this is for Krishna, I really want to clean Krishna's kitchen, especially today is Gundicha Marjana. So pick some area of the temple, even if it's only your dusty table or, something. Or the garden, some weeds that have got a lot of water now, they're growing. So to remove the weeds, of the Bhakti-lata that are suffocating the Bhakti-lata. The Bhakti-lata is the creeper of devotional service. And it can easily get suffocated, by this negative anarthas. The anarthas are also growing along with the Bhakti-lata. This is very important to know, that as we progress in Krishna consciousness, you receive honor, you receive position, you receive recognition, you receive, and maybe it's only, maybe don't receive, but maybe you think, that you are progressing, that you're already advanced, that you are, already, you're very intelligent, and I understand everything. So all of this anarthas that we have within, they grow along with our spiritual progress. So if you're not attentive, then the Bhakti-lata, the creeper of devotional service, can be suffocated by these other creepers, these anarthas. So it's very important that we remove them. So the water that we're giving to the water that we're giving to the Bhakti Lata, it means to be, be a good devotee, be strict, be dedicated, be regular, be sattvic. All of these are, you could say, achievements, that simultaneously can propel the anarthas. It's very tricky. The more subtle, the more tricky. The mind is so tricky that it can become proud of being very humble. I'm the most humble. I'm so humble. I'm so sweet and so nice to everyone. I'm really amazing. I wonder when everybody will notice. So it's like that. The mind is very tricky, and therefore it's very important that we understand this or emulate, this principle of being merciful towards others, but being very strict with ourselves. This is actually the key. Theoretically, that's the key for a very successful community as well. So if you live in a community and if everyone is very merciful, very understanding, very caring towards everybody around them, but very, very strict with themselves, that's how you can achieve an amazing dynamic. So you can be very strict with yourselves, but you can expect that people will be, very merciful towards you. So you always feel you are safe. And actually feeling safe is the key for a successful community, successful group. If people don't feel safe, if there's always some fear, what is this person thinking about me? What is this person thinking about me? Is this person judging me? Is any moment, temple commander or temple president going to come and, chastise me, scream at me? So if there's fear, it's very difficult for a group to be successful. It says a group becomes successful when people feel safe. So you feel safe, you feel you can fully surrender. How will you surrender if you don't feel safe? Surrender means you give up all your, you could say, safety mechanisms, and you surrender to Krishna, to Guru, to the devotee. Why? Because you feel safe. If you don't feel safe, you cannot surrender. It would be illogical, and also you could say stupid, to surrender if you don't feel safe. It would be paradoxical. If you don't think you will be safe and protected, then why surrender? And Prabhupada very often, it's very nice how Prabhupada in his purports very often he's selling Krishna. He's selling Krishna. He's saying Krishna is a very good boss. You can surrender to him. He's very nice. He's very merciful. He'll take care of you. There's quite a few purports, where Prabhupada talks like this. He's talking about material, circumstances, material kings and bosses and different, material people who will exploit, if you surrender to them. But Prabhupada emphasizes, Krishna is a very nice boss. He's very nice. You can surrender to him. Don't worry. Don't worry. And Krishna also himself is saying, Sarva dharvam pradityaja mamekam sharanam raja aham tvam sarva papaya ma suchaha. Don't worry. Don't be afraid. So that's very important. We should not be afraid. We should feel safe. And of course, we as devotees should reflect. Of course, we're not pure, so we might not be always able to reflect that. But we should think about it and be conscious that we are representing Krishna. We are representing Krishna, and the more we are, representing this mood of Krishna, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the more we will be successful as well. It's very obvious that you can only truly preach if you are merciful, because out there in the world nobody's following any rules. They're going by different set of rules, certainly not by the set of rules that we have. And I always think about how often I've seen devotees holding a currywurst in order to distribute a book. Currywurst is a curry sausage. So this person has carrying a curry. It's just bought a curry sausage. The devotee is there. Hello, you want a book? I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'll take a book. Can you hold my curry sausage? And they're like, okay. You're holding the curry saucer so he can get money to get the book, you know. So it's not very sattvic, you know, it's not very nice, but you certainly will do it if you have the right attitude, you know. If you have the wrong attitude, you will be like, oh, you meat eater, what are you doing? You're contaminating me, you know. I have to take a bath now, I have to do achman, you know. But if you are in the mood of Nityananda, you will just hold the currywurst, you know. I heard some devotees held the currywurst and just put it in the garbage bin. And the person completely forgot about it. But that might not always work, you know. Yes. Okay, I don't want to make too long today. So maybe there are some questions you want to add, and we can continue like that. I'll read once again the verses until the microphone comes. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, "My dear Sanatana, please hear from me. Krishna is very merciful and he is the deliverer of all fallen souls. My dear Sanatana, Krishna has saved you from Maharaurava, life's deepest hell. He is an ocean of mercy and his activities are very grave."
Vielen Dank, Govinda, für deine Lecture. Ich wollte fragen, du hast davon gesprochen, dass auch Unkraut wächst, während man diese Pflanze begießt, das Bhakti. Und ich wollte nochmal darauf eingehen, ob du vielleicht das ein bisschen konkretisieren kannst, wie man gegen dieses Unkraut vorgeht. Also was da das Mittel dagegen ist, wenn man zum Beispiel neidisch ist. Wie kann man diesen Neid überwinden oder den überkommen? Verschwindet der überhaupt ganz jemals? Oder wenn du das so ein bisschen...
So his question is that how do we overcome the weeds that grow along the Bhakti-lata? You know, how is it that we overcome envy, for example? So the details you will find, of course, in Madhya-līlā. Madhya-līlā is the roadmap. It's the book describing the journey of the Bhakti-lata. You know, how the Bhakti-lata is growing. You know, from this muddy material existence all the way to the lotus feet of Krishna. You know, how it passes all the different layers of material existence and enters into the material spiritual reality, and then blooms and fructifies at the lotus feet of Krishna, you know, in Krishna Prema. So there, all the details are there, and it's very technical and it's very good to understand. You know, this is if you want to use your buddhi, your intelligence, you know, to understand, to be, as a challenged. If you can memorize all the principles of the Madhya-līlā, then that's, you know, I guess one of the greatest investments for your intelligence. I haven't fully memorized everything. I've read it and I heard many lectures about it. But the main idea is that there's always an antidote, for sure. You know, and it's also in very similar lines to the nectar of instruction. You know, where there is, you know, the poisons, and then there is the nectar pills, the cures, you know, the tonic, spiritual tonics, you know. So Adi-Purusha Prabhu was emphasizing it very nicely, you know, and also making some connections, you know, how they are connected to each other actually. But specifically about envy you can overcome by service and humility. So if there's somebody you're envious, you know that you're envious about this person, you feel some envy, then you should specifically go to this person and serve this person. Yeah, it's very curing. You know, it will, because it's you have to give up your false ego. You know, the false ego that's envious is cured when you overcome, this pride, and the idea that I am aham mameti, I am deserving, I should get. Why this person? So serving is very powerful. In general, it's a very safe position, but especially in connection to envy, if you serve people, and of course for any other form of, like arrogance as well. And so generally serving and humility are, in most cases, the cure. But of course this humility and this, you could say, readiness to serve can manifest in different ways, So if you have the propensity to talk bad about somebody, some prajalpa, then to glorify, you use your tongue to glorify the devotees, and consciously talk. This is the austerity can happen in all kind of different ways. So when you just help your tongue, or force your tongue to glorify devotees. In the beginning you might feel like, I don't want to, but the more you do it, it's very nice. So it's habitual as well. We have habits that we are inclined to do something in a certain way, and if you cultivate good habits, of glorifying devotees, of serving devotees, thinking positively about devotees, giving gifts to devotees, and all of that is very curing. So in one sense you could say nectar of instruction is a direct hint. But to be honest, I forgot exactly how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains it in the Nectar and Madhurya Kadambini. But maybe Sanjay knows.
Not really, but I remember that in Bhagavatam Canto 7, Narada Muni also explains something, and he's saying, it's only half a verse or something. He's saying, envy is overcome by giving up desires for sense gratification.
Yeah, so sense gratification is by definition selfish. So you want to enjoy, separatedly. So sense gratification means this drive of the senses to enjoy and exploit, in the worst case, what is not truly meant for you, So that's, also manifestation of envy, obviously. And you could say the antidote still remains, you don't engage your senses in sense gratification, but you engage your senses in serving devotees. So, yeah. Okay. Something else? Noch etwas? Okay, then we'll close. Shri Caitanya-caritāmṛta ki jai, Sanatana Goswami ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.